So I'd actually intended to do this video for you early in the week, but being the professional I am, I brought the camera body home, but I didn't bring a lens home. So I could have done it on the phone, but I'm trying to do as little as possible on the phone now. I'm trying to do everything on the camera. Of which, of course, if you watched yesterday's video when I was in Threadneedle Street in London, I did that on the camera. I know the light was slightly fading, but I just wanted to try and prove that I could do it on the camera. So if you're wondering where I am, I'm now at home, and this is where, well, those are my records behind me for my some of my records from my radio days, and this was my studio, which I don't know how much of that you can see, but that was where this was sound treated properly by Art Novian for when I was doing live broadcasts. I used to sit in here 3 nights a week. My radio, it was for a station called Solar Radio. Summer black music, jazz, funk, jazz, and rare groove. Rare soul is really my thing. And I did 3 shows a week for Solar. I did a Saturday afternoon show, which was kind of just mainstream new release soul. Then I did a jazz show called Straight Ahead, which was sponsored by a jazz club in London called the 606 Club. I did that on a Wednesday night from 10 till midnight. And then the big show, the one that's left a real legacy, and I think it is still available on Apple Podcasts and on Mixcloud, After Hours. That was a real rare groove treat, and that's where most of that vinyl was played. Cost me a fortune getting all that vinyl accumulated. But that show has still got a legacy and still gets people asking, is it coming back? So that was from midnight on a Saturday night through to 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And there was a huge live following. I did all my shows live whenever I possibly could. I think in all the time that I was on radio, I only missed about 2 shows. One was when I had a new hip put in. And I still was online interacting with the listeners, even though it's a pre-recorded show. And other than that, I think I was live all the time, apart from one Saturday night that I was out, and I palmed off the show to somebody else. I used to do a load of cover shows as well. I used to do mid-morning shows, mid-afternoon shows. I worked really hard. And the reason I gave up on that was purely because it was never going to make money. And it was quite clear. I made a little bit of money from the sponsorship, but the Solar was always clear that it was, well, in the early days, it's pay to play. The presenters used to have to pay to get on there because it was so popular. That's kind of changed now, but it's always a free. It's the passion of radio. And I love radio. I love radio with an absolute passion. But then during the COVID shutdowns, I was looking at things. My design business, I knew was going to suffer a bit because people were starting to do things themselves. And I had to think of things that I could do to make money. And I now heard of this thing, the content creators economy. Excuse me. I don't know how come I never sneeze on my main videos, and I do on these. I do apologise. And I heard about the content creator economy. And I thought I wanted to give that a go. So that's what led to me doing. Giving this a go, and there was a great quote from Smithy PT saying that YouTube is a frustrating employer. Smithy, I completely agree with you, and that was the start of it all. I remember, fun enough, it was the podcast from John Prosser and Sam Cole. I've had Sam Cole on my podcast when I was doing it. I'll tell you why that stopped at some point down the line, but I heard them talking about this content creator economy. I looked into it. I thought, well, I was watching a lot of YouTube during lockdown, and I thought I want to give that a go. And misleadingly, I just thought, well, The Voice, because everyone always says I've got The Voice. I thought The Voice would do it, but sadly, The Voice didn't do it. It was much harder than I thought. Much harder than I thought. And here I am, 4 years on, still battling away. So that was my sort of lead-in. So I think you've known most of my life now. So as a youngster, I was a mad, avid cricketer from the age of about 11 through to 20. I was convinced I was going to be a professional cricketer. I was a fast bowler. I was okay. I played some county sort of like third 11, so not first or second 11, but kind of like the youth side stuff. I was Middlesex programme through to about 17. I toured Yorkshire with them. I played for Surrey Club and Ground. So I did okay, but then you realise that you're not good enough quite quickly. There's something very different about pro sportsmen, and you realise that you're not one of them. Bit of a gap then. Then I was bodybuilding, and I went from around about 12 stone to 19 stone. Yeah, I walked around at about 230 pounds off season, and loved it. Again, because of the nerd that I am, it was more than anything to do with the science and nutrition and learning how to diet that really fascinated me. I was a high-intensity trainer, so I'd train for like 4 days a week for 45 minutes at a time, one set to failure kind of training. again, did some national shows. I think I mentioned this the other day. So that was my kind of sporting thing. And that's what did my hip in. The surgeon said it's because where my front foot was landing as a fast bowler, constantly thudding down, that weakened it. And then, of course, heavy squatting, heavy leg pressing, all that kind of thing as a bodybuilder, and walking around with that kind of weight on your frame all day long is going to do your joints no good at all. So that was the new hip. The new hip was just as lockdown kicked in, actually. It was January 21, was it 20? I locked down. It was literally just before I got out, just before the hospital shut down. So I was very, very lucky to get it done, and it's been as good as gold. Apart from the other week, last week when I was in London, and I fell arse over tip. Completely my fault and really embarrassing. I was looking at shots around me. I had a gimbal in one hand, an iPhone in the other hand, and I didn't notice this paving stone sticking up, and I went completely flying and landed on my replacement hip, which as I got up, I thought, oh shit, what have I done? But as it turns out, everything was okay. So that's kind of a plotted history of my life and how I ended up in doing what I'm doing now. So today I've decided to work from home. I was in London all day yesterday, as you know. I managed to do I was quite proud of myself getting that short up with captions, sitting by the side of HMS Belfast, and managed to still get a video up. It's only got about 800 views. This is the thing. You're told to do all the right things and be there and react to things. Well, I reacted. I had the iPad out. I was looking at the press. And, of course, I had to make notes very quickly and scripts up to make sure that I wasn't making factual mistakes about what the Neo was about. So I was pretty pleased with myself. And I thought reacting that quickly, I'd get some views. But there you go. There's no knowing what the algorithm's going to deal with you each day. So this week, there's been, obviously, videos on this channel every day. There's been 3 shorts to cover the event. And yes, I think I mentioned yesterday, I did go to the very high ups, to some senior vice presidents. I just thought, you don't ask, you don't get. I don't know if you've looked at Apple Newsroom, the site. They put all their press releases there. And at the bottom of all of those press releases is somebody's email address. I'm thinking most of them in the States, but you just don't know. Once, a few years ago, I spoke to 2 ladies from there. We did have a phone call. That went nowhere. But my thought is now, I know I'm only sort of 35,000 subs, but I've been banging the Apple drum for 4 years constantly now, every week. Good, solid content. Okay, occasionally I'd say when something's not good, but it's pro-Apple. And would it really hurt them to pass out one invite? You see invites going out to people that cover Androids, and they're going to the event, and I'm a dedicated Apple channel, and I can't get an invite to these events. It's so frustrating. I say particularly as I know that it's at Battersea, which I go to all the time. It's not that far from me. It's about an hour by car. It's really easy to park. And if you've been to Battersea Power Station, it's the first floor above all the shops. The whole thing, that is Apple's HQ. So I know pretty much where it is. I just cannot get in. I will keep beating the drum. One day I might get noticed. I'd love to go to WWDC, but it's all a way off at the moment. And about the subs, I think I said to you the other day, I kind of think I've been too honest and too straight. In YouTube, you're allowed to do these promotions. You pay Google to promote your video, and you can choose what kind of promotion you want, whether it's views, whether it's subs, whether it's just an overall promotion. And I'm thinking I think I'm being too honest and too straight. So I think that I might well promote one of my slightly older videos and just get a few more subs, because advertisers and sponsors look at the subs. It's the first thing they look at. They don't look at interaction, which is the crazy thing. Even that short yesterday, I had about 30 comments, even though I only had about 800 views. So that's what I mean. I'm straight down the line, absolutely straight down. I'm not going to suddenly turn into some nefarious guy that's going off and buying views from chatbots in China. I'll do it the official way, but again, of course, money's tight at the moment, as you know. So, if I spend 100, 150 quid there, and I'm sure the big channels are spending way more than that. There's one that I know for sure, not that I know him, but we've spoken about him off record on the podcast. And I know one guy that's spending a fortune on these views. And you can see it when there's kind of 250,000 views and 20 comments. That is an absolute red herring. You know then that those are kind of bought views. So anyway, maybe I need to join the gang and at some point buy myself a few more subs. Sad, but that's the way it goes. And the point of this channel is being honest with you and telling you what it's like running a channel. So this morning, back from London, obviously last night, I had a few things to do. Ordered the phone. That was done on the train coming back. Posted my story to Mac O'Clock on Medium, and they've now published it. So I don't know if you look at me on Medium or not, but that's repurposed content. So generally, I make outlines for video each week. So because I don't use any script, I just rely on being able to talk smoothly. I make outlines, and then from those outlines the following week, I then write a story based on that video. Repurposed content, everybody does it, and you tend to find the people that read don't watch, and the people that watch don't read. So it's the known way of doing it. So anyway, that I did. So I did order the phone, publish a story last night on the train, got back, retouched the photo. If you want to see some of the photos that I shot yesterday, the first one's already up. By the time this goes up, possibly the second one will be up. You'll see the kind of work. It's D-Talking Tech on Instagram, if I fancy a follow over there. Instagram's ticking on quite nicely. And I haven't paid for any views on there. That's just organic. It's up to 500 odd followers now, which, considering I don't pay for anything and I'm coming from nowhere. And coming back on the train last night, I was actually sitting next to a photographer. He'd been up working for an agency. He was a freelancer. I noticed he had a Lightroom open on his Mac, and he was working on the little table thing on the train. And I saw he's retouching photos of Princess Anne. And so after he'd finished, he said, "Do you want the table?" So he let me use the table for my iPad. I was loving iPad life yesterday in London, by the way. And yeah, we got talking. So we're now following one on Instagram. And photographers tend to be pretty supportive of what I've seen so far. So today it's been answering comments, doing accounts work. No follow-ups on any of the emails that landed yesterday. So still no sign of any sponsors. We're now sort of approaching a quarter way through March and still nothing, which is kind of worrying. And then I've retouched the photo and it's scheduled to go out on Instagram and Threads later today. So that's all done. I've had a few bits of design work to do because I've still got my design company, and then I'll be getting around finally to. I wanted to do this at home just to show you my home studio. So I'm working on a 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro with an espresso display, a 17-inch 4K display that I use here, and those are studio monitors behind me that I use. So I've got decent music while I'm working here. Obviously, I'm not allowed to have music running while I'm talking to you because it'd be copyrighted. If you're interested, I'm listening to the two very first albums that Luther Vandross ever made, called Luther, when his band Luther, back in 1976, 77, went on the Atlantic Cotillion label, and I've got the original vinyl of those, but they're now also available on Apple Music as well. And then I hopefully got all the B-roll I need for the video when I was in London yesterday. That's my thought. I will try and get the video up today. I took thumbnail shots as well. So the only thing I should hopefully have everything in place. If the video doesn't go up to date, it can go up tomorrow. It's not the end of the world. But I'm looking at the weather today, and it's even better than yesterday. Boy, do I wish I was in London today. It looks absolutely stunning. But what I've looked at the shot so far, yesterday's shot, which was outside, right outside the front door of the Gherkin in London, I was happy with that. I do like a little bit of motion blur. I used to work for completely clean shots of a building. Now I realise that's boring. You need somebody walking through, and I just like a little bit of motion blur of the foot. You'll see it's my sort of trademark. I like symmetry as well. Today's picture is all about symmetry. Tomorrow's picture could be a picture of the Shard from a certain angle. It could be inside Tower Bridge tube station. I've got a really nice long symmetrical shot there as well. So that's the rest of my day. I will go to the studio to upload this because my upload speeds at home are terrible. Absolutely terrible. Takes forever. So I'll go to the studio to upload this and then see how I get on with the video. And that is my day so far. So yeah, I'm working from home until about 2ish, and then heading about 15 minutes away into the studio. If you're wondering where I am, I'm sort of somewhere near Ascot. If you're wondering vaguely where home is, near Ascot, and I say the studio is about 15 minutes away, just on the borders of Surrey, so not too far away. The studio's actually in Chertsey. So there you go. That's kind of the behind the scenes of where I am and what I do. So I will get this uploaded later on, and thank you for all of you that are watching. We're growing a few subs in here, you know. I'm going to keep going with it for sure. I think today's a little bit longer than normal, but hey, it's just about sitting down and talking, right? And that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, I will speak to you tomorrow. Have a great Thursday. Catch you Friday.